Hello, my podcast people, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of my favorite online business podcast. If you are listening, tuning in, watching this on the day it drops, it is, I slurred that, on the day that it drops. It is Monday, October 27th. Welcome to the final week of October. It's fucking done. I'm not sure if you listen, or rather if you look at the title of the episodes. If you're a diehard and you'll just be listening to whatever comes up next, bless you. Thank you. I love that. But if you did look at the title, today we're talking about grass farmers and curious roots. That is the title of the episode, Grass Farmers and Curious Roots. And the episode is inspired by October's Mafia dinner guest. Should be October's Mafia dinner guest, which is our very own Stephanie Hine. I have brought her on the podcast, I think twice, definitely once, but I think twice. So thank you for linking that, Courtney. Thank you for JoJo as well. She is amazing. Stephanie is an amazing human, and now she runs a legit whole ass farm with her husband. And they have cows on that farm, and they sell the meat of those cows. And she was talking about the farm, and so I brought her in to talk about it. And she said, "We're grass farmers." And I was like, brain explosion. Right? Translation, what does she mean by that? Their task is to keep the cows healthy, take care of the cows, which means they got to feed them. They got to feed them well. So their top priority is grass. They got to go grass so that the cows can eat the grass. I brought Stephanie in to talk about regenerative farming, which is what their farm, Hine Farms, practices. And we'll link their Instagram. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, JoJo. I brought her in because I believe we should be practicing regenerative commerce as business owners. So I just wanted her to share her brain and her experience with regenerative agriculture, regenerative farming, and allow us to draw the parallels. If you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say regenerative commerce, I made the term up. Like, it's not like a thing. It's like going, I made it up with ChatGPT and was talking about stuff. But I sent out an email to my newsletter. I can't say that I'm the first person to ever say it, but I'm saying I made it up. I didn't hear it somewhere. Like, I literally was talking with ChatGPT and I was like, hey, how about this? And it was like, yeah. But I sent out an email to my newsletter about this, I don't know, a month ago, something like that. Time is a flat circle. I don't know. But you can check it out. There's no need to subscribe. We'll link it in the show notes. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, JoJo. Though it would be a whole lot cooler if you did subscribe. But no, you don't have to if you don't want to. Or if you are like, wait, I'm subscribed. I don't know which one you're talking about. The title of that newsletter episode was "These Hoes Ain't Loyal." And I was talking about the price increase from ConvertKit. But we'll link it and you can just read it without having to subscribe. But a loose definition for regenerative commerce would be running a business that doesn't just extract value, aka time, money, attention, but actively creates conditions where your customers, your collaborators, and even you as the owner come out healthier, stronger, and more resourced. Right? It borrows the logic of regenerative agriculture, which is leave the soil richer than you found it, right? Leave it better than you found it. So after Stephanie said we're grass farmers, I posed the question, what would be the equivalent for online business for what we do? Right? And Laura Jean, the always and ever incredible Laura Jean, she's in the Mafia as well, she said relationships. And then I fell out of my chair. Like, holy shit. We will link all those episodes. I've had her on, I think, twice at least as well, maybe more. But Courtney, thank you. JoJo, thank you. Because I was honestly thinking content. My head went to like, what's the equivalent of grass? Content. Because it's what feeds the audience. But the audience is not the cows. Bear with me here, folks. Right? The cows is what, Stephanie is selling. She loves them, takes care of them, but that's what she's selling. What we're selling are our offers. What sustains them, right? What keeps people interested and keeps people buying them is the relationships. And I was like, holy fucking shit. Right? The relationships is the grass. The grass is the relationships. Holy shit. Holy shit. Content is one way to foster the relationships, but the thing that we're looking to really take care of in all the ways is the relationships, right? It's the people that we have those relationships with. So how this ties into the title of today's episode, Grass Farmers and Curious Roots, is that I believe at the heart of taking care of these relationships is curiosity. And I'm honestly just also talking about curiosity across the board, which I do think is a trait that some folks are born with way more of it. And I do consider myself one of those people to be one of those very, fortunate people to just have like curiosity as a trait. I don't know if I was a why kid, right? But that's what I mean when I say that some folks are born with more of it. Right? The kid that for every answer says why, but why? I could have texted my mom. I definitely could have texted my mom and just been like, hey, but I was outlining this episode. I wanted to get it recorded. But I'm going to assume that I had some of this because I remember her telling me, look it up. Like that was just like a thing, like look it up. And like now I carry that with me, like look it up. And just saying that a lot. And like I remember my little like set of encyclopedias and just like me looking shit up. And it was like, well, it's not in here. But like it was like one little set of encyclopedias and it wasn't the internet. But I definitely remember her being like, look it up. So she definitely nurtured that curiosity because she didn't tell me to shut up, right? Or she didn't just give me the answer or said like, don't worry about it. She said, go figure it out. And I did. I remember my grandpa also, he could fix anything. He could build anything and he could fix anything. And I remember how that was valued and that was celebrated. And I feel like my mom also has that in her as well. And just something that like was passed on to me. And I was like, I just saw it. And I was like, yeah, I want to emulate this. And just with her, just something as simple as like making our Halloween costumes. They were always fucking banging, amazing. Like she just figured shit out. I just always viewed her as someone who could figure this stuff out. So, those are more tangible examples of that curiosity. But as it relates to the online business, I think we can very easily see parallels with just, the easiest, most simplest is a curiosity to figure out how things work. Right. And from the most like simple example, just like how the tech side works, right? Like, which hopefully is paired with a level of tenacity that's required to actually devote enough time and effort to figuring this shit out. But if we circle back to the relationship aspect and the relational aspect, and we tie in curiosity, what does that look like? I think it can all be summed up as tell me more. Right. And this tell me more doesn't have to be just in like direct conversations either. Right. To me, it speaks to a desire to learn more about the other person. And there's a lot of different ways you can learn more about the other person. It could be in conversation and simply asking more questions. Tell me more. Right. It could be on your own though, just watching their stories, looking to learn about their life and their personality. I mean, just be genuinely curious about them. Right. It can speak to the bigger picture of a desire to learn about your audience in general, right? And what they need and what they want and what they're experiencing, where they're at with things, instead of just assuming, which we know never goes well, right? Never goes well. We can ask them for sure. We can just also observe, be curious. As I was writing this outline and going through namely that part right there, I was going back and forth and I'm just like, what's the difference between curiosity and caring? Am I saying just like care about your audience? But it's different than curiosity, but I do think they're like inextricably linked, which to me just furthers this idea of curiosity being at the heart of fostering these relationships, right? Curiosity as, wait for it, the roots. Hence the title, Grass Farmers and Curious Roots. All right. Side note, this episode, extra special to me. Why? Because my word for the year for 2020-25 is root. And so whenever it comes up, it's really cool. And also this is episode 688 and 8 is my favorite number. So it's just like all around dope. But yeah, curiosity as the root of what sustains our businesses and relationships being that thing that sustains it. Like what sustains our businesses? Relationships. And what's at the root of that? Curiosity. Right? To me, in my humble opinion, curiosity dies when there's performance, when we're not listening, right? When every single post is a pitch and every conversation is an attempt at a conversion, when every comment is just a breadcrumb, a trail back to your own fucking offer, curiosity has disappeared. right? And yes, there's absolutely time to sell and have strategy. Don't get me wrong. But we're also always interacting with people, which means there's also always plenty of opportunities to stay curious and get curious and be curious in so many different ways. So, action items, because I can't just be here just spouting off and having a TED talk. I want to give you things you can try. So, how does one foster curiosity? Because earlier I said that I definitely think some people are maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. Right? In this case, I think some people are born with it, right? Or born with more of it. But I do think that it can be nurtured and fostered, right? Because it's something I think about. I legit think about this curiosity fairly often. And I'm wondering, I'm being curious as to whether it's something that can be taught, because it is at the heart of a successful business. And I do think it can be taught. I think it can be learned. I think it can be improved on. I think it can be fostered. It can be nurtured. I'd like to think of it as a skill. And of course, liken it to sports, because that's how my brain always works. But, you can get better at it. And yes, if you think about sports, the kid who's just naturally talented and also tries and works on it will always be better than the kid who just tries hard. But both can definitely improve. And the kid that just tries hard can definitely improve. So I had said earlier that I think curiosity and caring are inextricably linked. But they're not synonyms, right? They're not synonymous. And I do think that there's a somewhat of an order of operations here. One does come first, right? It's not chicken or the egg. Because, and I laugh as I think about this when I was writing it, because you can care about something and not be curious, right? Lex stays like, why aren't you curious? You're like, ask about certain things. I'm like, because I don't care about that. I shouldn't say that. I don't care about it, because I'm not curious about that. I care about you, but I'm not necessarily caring about that thing. I'm not curious about it. All right, so you can care about the thing overall, but not be curious about it. But I don't think that you can be curious about something and not care about it in some way, shape, or form. To that end, curiosity can be viewed as the starting point, or as a starting point, if we're looking for one. So, action items, I promised you them. 3 action items that I think you can do to help foster curiosity and become a more curious person, if that's your goal. Right? Number 1, practice wonder. Not wander, wonder. WONDER. Right? Just practice noticing stuff in your day. Anything and everything. When you're on a walk, notice everything. Just literally everything. The car that's up, the sky, the clouds, the sidewalk, the animals. Notice everything. Just take it in. When you're scrolling, notice everything. When you're watching TV, notice the angles, the people who they have on there, what the person's hair looks like, the music, how long between camera shots. I don't notice everything. When you're in the pickup line, I don't know. I'm not a parent, but I'm trying to make this relatable and actionable for everybody. But just notice everything. Why? Because you cannot be curious about things you don't notice. So as a start, practice noticing things. It also forces a bit of a slowdown and you to be in the moment. I think it's really tough to be curious when you're just living on the next thing and you're never in the moment. So curiosity does take time. And so this is another way of forcing yourself to slow down, give yourself time. So practice wonder. Number 2, answer your questions. Fucking use ChatGPT if you want. Whenever you say, I wonder why, I wonder what, answer it. Go fucking look it up. Oftentimes that does lead to more questions, which is great, but it closes a loop and creates more space in your brain for more curiosity. I think that ultimately it creates a positive feedback loop as well, right? When I have a question, it gets answered. Our brains like that. They like closure. They like when things make sense. So give it that. To me, if you have questions and you just don't answer them, I feel your brain's fuck it, I don't want that, because it's just ugh. It's open. It's when you have something hanging off, I'm looking at Rupert behind me. He's being so cute. Can you see? He's so cute. He's so cute. But if you have a cat and they just push something towards the edge, most of the time they're going to push it all the way off the edge. But if you just have something that's dangling off the side, people don't like that. Close it. Do something with that. Do that with your questions. Right? If you have curiosity, satiate it. It's not like you're never curious again. It creates more room, and it's a positive feedback loop of hey, when I have this question, it gets answered. Give it that so that it's, when I say it, give your brain that so that it's willing to have more curious experiences and be more curious. Right? And then lastly, number 3, follow discomfort. People do not like sitting with discomfort. They like sitting in it, around it, near it. They don't want it. They don't want it. I'm not telling you to go chase it. I'm telling you that when it pops up, ask why. Ask yourself, why do I care? Why do I feel this way? Perhaps you need to start with, what am I feeling? And then you move into why. Why am I feeling this? Why do I care about this? But either way, investigate the discomfort instead of running away from it. We are literally training curiosity. So, to wrap it up, regenerative farming, regenerative agriculture, it's dope. And to me, regenerative commerce is the goal for us. Farmers, they focus on the grass, and we, online business owners, we focus on relationships, which I believe is most easily accomplished by having curious roots. Boom, look at that. Brought it back together. All right, real quick. I had fun with this episode. Real quick, business and life updates, because I jumped right into the episode, and I know that you all are curious about my shit. See what I did there? Biz-wise, I can't make an episode about curiosity and not plug my other podcast, ChatGPT Curious. If you are in any way, shape, or form curious about ChatGPT, literally anything, if you got any questions about it, if you are wondering literally anything about it, check it out. We're currently, I think, 15 episodes in. I'm still enjoying it very much. Right, so you can check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also check out the website. Built that shit out. I'm really proud of it. ChatGPTcurious.com. You can search the episodes, submit questions. I actually have a tab on there. It's called Curious Finds, and it's just a list of all the things that I read and that I listen to, podcast episodes, YouTube videos, articles, things like that, about ChatGPT and about AI in general. So we can check that out. Everything is hyperlinked. You can check that out. But you can also join the newsletter there. Right? The newsletter is called The Curious Companion, and it's a written version of the podcast for folks who would rather read than listen. But yeah, the podcast is called ChatGPT Curious. Check it out. Life announcements, only one, and that is that on the day that this drops, so the 27th, Lex and I will be heading to Hawaii that Wednesday for Jill's wedding. The wedding is in Oahu. We're going to stop by Jurassic Park, and also Where Lost was filmed on the way up from the airport, and it's on the North Shore, the actual wedding. But I got a new suit for it. It's dope. I got it tailored, and I get to celebrate my best friend. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I will report back when I'm back. All right, that is officially everything for today. As always, endlessly appreciative for every single one of you. Until next time, friends, Maestro out.